Holman Square or an unsupervised, dangerous police unit running around in your city. It's time for us to take this on nationally and to address it. So, Attorney Thompson, let's talk about next steps here, because this Brave Cave has been, quote, suspended and shut down allegedly. Some of the officers have been prosecuted. Not prosecuted, have been, taking off of duty, suspended temporarily. What do we need to know? What can we do who are listening to this show right now? And we are outraged to know that hundreds of people were mistreated and abused by these police officers. And Judge Williams, you heard some of these people were not even prosecuted, turned loose after they did their dirty deeds to them. This is absolutely one of the worst cases we're dealing with in the country. Attorney Thompson, what next?
Ma'am, if I could, there was a press conference that was held by the Baton Rouge Police Department in the beginning, and we are in actually the thousands that were taken there. So I've interviewed 100, but there are thousands that have been taken there. Your viewers should also, when you ask what's next, in relation to the Brave Cave, there are the search warrants, the no-knock search warrants that are executed at the house. I provided a report to the city council, and if you can see what happens to African-Americans' houses where these search warrants are executed at, there was a Bearcat that was driven through the front of a home of young adults who lost their mother during COVID. So every house where they make these arrests at, they leave them in shambles. And as you are aware, home ownership is the primary vehicle by which African Americans elevate themselves out of poverty. So this unit not only has unconstitutional arrests, are not only taking people to the Brave Cave, but they're also destroying the homes where they're executing these search warrants at. So where do we go next? You guys can easily reach out to the mayor here to voice your concerns about the destruction of these homes, about the unconstitutional behavior that is happening here. We also have a Metro Council member. I'm sure they will be excited to hear from you guys. The other thing is that I'm also on Instagram. My name is Ryan Keith Thompson. I'm on Instagram. You can also find me on Twitter. I try to share updates there. So anything you guys, what you guys can do is anytime I'm sharing something or giving an update, please reshare it to keep this in the news cycle, because what I don't want to happen here is for these atrocities to just kind of fly under the radar. Time passes and nothing happens. These officers need to be arrested, billed, and or indicted for what they've done. It's not just unconstitutional; it is criminal, ma'am.
Right. Absolutely. And they need to be prosecuted. Judge Williams, I know you're listening to this, and as someone who has sat on the federal bench, when you hear this, what do you want to see happen next? What is your thought about how we support these brave, amazing, courageous attorneys and plaintiffs who have come forth, and how do we keep exposing this injustice, and how do we fight to make sure that the people of Baton Rouge can be treated as real American citizens?
Thank you, Barbara, for asking. And again, I want to thank Attorney Thompson for his investigation and this information. I want to remind all of the listeners, and hopefully some of my students who I teach Fourth Amendment to, I want to remind everyone that the Fourth Amendment prohibits unlawful seizures, unlawful searches, unlawful use of force, and these no-knock warrants are just inappropriate. And you know what happened there in Louisiana, that was Louisville, where you had a no-knock warrant. So all of these allegations, threats of canines, cavity searches. Can you believe this? Cavity searches in 2023. All of these shotguns. And then I also received the allegations that they had destroyed footage of the beatings. And all of this unlawful, outrageous activity has to be personally put in front. People need to understand the unlawfulness that's taking place here. And I'm all for filing a civil action, not just against the officers involved, but there also has to be policy and practices. You have to go against the municipalities.
Yeah.
All of these who had knowledge and information that this stuff was going on. It's just appalling. And I really applaud Attorney Thompson for just moving forward, standing up and filing a 1983 action, and also those state claims. I looked at the complaint. Those state claims are also good about, again, false arrest and assault and negligence. You've got to go the whole way and bring this thing to justice. As I said before, this is such appalling. I haven't heard of these kind of things since the cases I've taught in law school to my students, Powell v. Alabama, that's the Scottsdale brothers down there, and other crazy suits.
Yeah.
Just pressures out of people. I'm appalled just listening to it, and I hope that our listeners will keep in mind the protection that we have with the Fourth Amendment and understand that this behavior is just unconstitutional and unlawful.
And I want to follow up because Attorney Thompson, we always tie everything back to voting, right? And back to governance. And we have watched, the videos of, some of the hearings of the council, and it's striking to look at the lack of African-American representation on those councils, to read that even though the school population is predominantly people of color, that the school board is predominantly white. What is going on with the politics? I mean, what's going on with the political realities? How do we fight this? Because ultimately, I watch people say, you didn't give us the money to, train these folks, to discipline these officers when they were getting out of control, that you went, talking to the city council, that you backed the FOP every time they, wanted to, make sure that we did not prosecute bad behavior. This is a voting rights issue, isn't it?
Ma'am, I moved here almost 10 years ago from California. And if you told me the things that I have seen, that I would see those things, I would tell you you're a lie. It feels as if we are post-Reconstruction down here. I've said this many times, that Louisiana is the place where the Constitution does not exist. This is a state that likes to oppress women as it relates to their bodies. This is a state where we're currently fighting right now for adequate representation. At the federal level, we have one representative, and shout out to Congressman Troy Carter, who does an amazing job. We're fighting for another district. This is a place, and you will probably remember this during the COVID era, where you had Gary Chambers Jr. go before the school board, and he was fighting a white female school board member who was shopping during the board meeting. And so there's a lot of different things. So to answer your question, yes, voting is really important. Let me tell you why. Because the individuals who are elected, let's say the mayor is now looking for a police chief to replace Chief Paul. If we don't have the mayor in there, who we have there now, this place would not have been shut down. If we don't have the proper mayor in there, then we're possibly dealing with someone to be selected to take over these investigations at the police department that will possibly hinder the investigations that are currently going on in the police department. The reason I say that, too, is that when I moved here, I noticed something eerily similar to South Africa. What do I mean by that? Is that here in the parish, we have a majority black populace, and yet the representation on the city council or on the metro council is not reflective of that. You mentioned the school board. it's the same thing. The majority of the children who are in the public school system in East Baton Rouge Parish are black, but yet the school board is not reflective of that. So voting is very important. Not only voting, but staying engaged and participating in the process. And let me also say this: if you can vote, that means that you can sit on jury duty. Some of the work that myself and Attorney Jessica Hawkins do is criminal. We need individuals to come and exercise their civic duty and participate in jury service. Recently, the Honorable C. Denise Marcel passed some legislation whereby she gave the voting rights back to felons who have been removed from under probation, parole, or any type of confinement for 10 years. That is critical because we need diversity in the jury pool. So, again, to answer your question, voting is very much so important, and it's tied to that fundamental right of being an American citizen.
Attorney Thompson.
Barbara, can I just
Judge.
Yes, please, Judge.
That's what Attorney Thompson has just said is so important. A lot of people think all they need to worry about is the presidential election, and that's all they concentrate on. But real power in this country is wielded on the state and local level. And it's very important that the listeners around the country understand that whoever is in the state Senate, whoever is in the state governors, whoever is on the state delegate school boards, that's where real power is, and we tend to avoid that. We haven't really put the kind of enthusiasm to make sure that people on the mayor's office and the school board who are making decisions affecting our students, that they're snatching books from shelves, they're preventing the teaching of black history. This is so important, and so I want to remind all of us to make sure that we understand that the real power in this country is on the state and local level, and that's where we have to get engaged and involved.
Absolutely.
And Attorney Thompson, Judge Williams raises a really good point. And if you could just take a moment and share with our audience, what has been the response of the community on the ground there in Baton Rouge to what is going on and what you and Attorney Hawkins have done in filing the suits?
We have received overwhelming support from the community. I can't express that enough. This is very hard work. There are many sleepless nights that myself and Attorney Hawkins have, and the support that we've received from the community has been overwhelming. Everywhere I go, particularly the elders, they're always like, thank you. And so it keeps us going. The Metro Council members, Councilman Cleve Dunn, Shauna Banks, Daryl Hurst, have reached out to me and expressed publicly their support for what it is that we're doing in righting some of these wrongs. So there's been a lot of movement around there. There's Evolve Louisiana. There have been other on the ground, the People's Party, who have been very supportive, who've shown up to these council meetings. So the community has been overwhelmingly supportive of the efforts of trying to hold this police department and the individuals accountable. Because as you stated earlier, that this isn't new. You have Alton Sterling. You then had a recent settlement where protesters who were protesting Alton Sterling would just settle a $1 million lawsuit by the Baton Rouge Police Department. So this is a long-rooted issue. This is nothing that's going to be resolved overnight. And so the support that we're receiving from the community gives us strength to run this marathon.
Thank you. And it is just so important. Everyone who's listening, please realize this is not a Baton Rouge issue. This is an American dilemma. This is our fight, that we all have to be in this. And we're going to talk next when we come back from break. We're going to pick up on this story to figure out how in the world was this kept a secret for so long. And then we're going to talk about the 8th Circuit and their attacks on voting rights. So don't dare you touch that dial. We'll be right back. It is Igniting Change time.
Talk 1450 WOL AM, where information is power.
Good afternoon. This WOL Traffic Update is sponsored by Compassion International. On